Welcome to the Combative Nerds Podcast. Join us while we break balls and try to outwit each other at every turn while debating all things nerdom and trying to make sense of this world. Look, I'm not gonna lie, this is a Herculean task, and I'm not sure we have enough brain power to do so. At the very least, we can laugh and offend each other through the process. Thanks for sharing your day with us. Now on to our show. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Raiderlance and
Not Maggot.
Thank you for joining us for our part 2 discussion of Andrew Tate arrested and his new legal woes that he's going through. Kind of cut off abruptly, but we wanted to make it a little bit more manageable, shorten it down in size. So thank you for sticking with us. As my partner kindly reminded me, I should tell you to like, subscribe, share this content, help us out in whatever way you can. We're a startup. We need your support, guys. All right. So we left off with Andrew Tate inserting foot in his mouth quite a few times. I got the next video pulled up, and this is where Andrew Tate is talking about his opinion of the Romanian legal system. All right, here we go.
Romanian court. So there's some, oh no, not court in Romania. They're corruption free, as we all know. They put me in jail. I'm going to walk in there with a pile of money like this. Boom, boom, get some hoes. This cell's mine. I'm ready. Put me in jail. I don't give a fuck. You think they're court? Shut up. Get me out of jail. The law says you're guilty. I said get me out of jail. Don't go see a lawyer to talk about the law. I have committed multiple felonies. How much does it cost to make this all go away?
Also, when you're real G's, that you're here, you're there, you're everywhere. You got to go to Poland, you got to go to Warsaw, fucking Dubai, Miami. Anyone who watches State Confidential knows I'm all over the place. So I end up with all these chicks just stuck in their house, sitting there, bored, completely in love with me. And of course, they don't go out. They're not allowed out. You stay in the house. You don't go nowhere. You're not, no restaurants, no clubs, nothing.
All right. So there's two parts to that. One, Andrew Tate clearly saying, I don't care if I committed a crime or not. Who do I pay? How much do I pay? I own this jail. I have a stack of money. Bring me some women. I own this cell. Get me a bigger cell. Clearly, his belief of the Romanian system is that it's for hire and he can pay his way out. I don't know if he's wrong on that one. I've heard he's kind of right about that. Needless to say, if somebody has that mentality, they're more likely to commit crimes, if that makes sense. They know that they're going to act with impunity, almost like these businesses who know they're only going to pay fines. They won't see jail time or be dissolved. The second part of this is, and I don't think it's as credible, Andrew Tate was talking, and he was in full character in this one, about when he goes traveling, his women have to stay indoors, and they're making it an argument that this is somehow confinement through his mental control over these women. By looking at his body posture and the way he was talking, he was clearly playing it up. It may be true. I don't know if he's doing it with force, coercion, threats. I'm going to say that's really not as good of evidence as him controlling, kidnapping, confining, that type of stuff. Now, Maggot, what'd you think?
I think it shows the untouchable feeling that someone with power and money has.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a big piece to it. I think that he uses that same mentality approaching why these girls should stay in the house, why they should fall in love with him. And so I think that he makes the statement about, there's several women at home and they stay in the house and they all love me. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there's a part of that kind of my question is, well, how much of that affection that they perceive is real? Is it 10%? Is it 0? Is it 100%? Like, how much affection does he truly have for these women? Or does he truly view them as disposable?
Yeah. We can get into some of the transcripts. Maybe we can extrapolate from there. If I had to describe the energy that Andrew Tate is giving off, he reminds me of Al Pacino in Scarface in the restaurant scene, where he's saying, yeah, look at the bad guy. Just that arrogance, confidence. I don't care who you are. I'm going to be who I am, and you're no better than me. Like, that's not what Andrew Tate's saying, but that is the confidence and ego, that the same confidence and ego that's screaming. That's the only comparable I can make to the way he's behaving in these videos.
Yeah, I think he does have that attitude of being untouchable, being such a large person, because it's, in a way, he's kind of right.
Yeah, it's warranted. Yeah.
And that's the worst part, because if you think about it, he's already predicted, throw me in jail, this was what's going to happen. And he has people outside of his house, outside of his mansion, protesting for his release.
Yeah.
So he's right.
Yeah.
And it sucks. It's ugly.
Yep.
But the same thing happens to people here in the United States.
Yeah. Here's something that for the pro Andrew Tate people say all the time. And I agree with this 100%. How come the Jeffrey Epstein client list has never been released? You have all these powerful politicians and business people traveling to Epstein Island, doing God knows what with people they shouldn't be, and they're protected. Andrew Tate, I don't care what you think about him, if he's guilty of this, it's a lesser version of what Jeffrey Epstein did. It might be on the same side of the room if he did it, but it's a lesser version. They have their pitchforks and torches, and they want to hang this guy. Where is the moral consistency here, right? Well, I would say because he's so boisterous about what he's doing and so flippant with the establishment, he's not playing by the rules. I think that's why he has a target on him. But, nobody should be doing this. But I think that's where that ego kind of turned him into Icarus, where I'm not saying he should have been quiet and do it, but I'm saying for some reason you can do it, but don't be loud and have an ego about it. And then for some reason, our culture and our politics and our legal system will let you, slip under the radar. I don't know what to make of it.
Well, yeah, I think, first of all, only the most boisterous politicians and rich individuals, wealthy individuals, have been released of Epstein's client list.
Yeah.
First of all.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if they could find only a few times that names get dropped, and usually it's those politicians or those wealthy individuals that are either currently being tried to take down, or have been taken down for some on their own or for some unrelated thing. And then they almost become, well, you're just kicking a dead horse, right? Bill Clinton gets thrown out there a lot, and there's lots of photos and everything else.
Bill Gates.
But I didn't even know Gates was one of them. I heard Clinton.
Oh, boy. You should see what his wife said about Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein's relationship.
Yeah, that's a whole different can of worms. But like I said, I think that those people that they are either currently trying to discredit or have previously discredited, right? Those are the safe list of people. Everyone that's still kind of actively in the stratosphere of influence, I think that those people are very nervous and they're tightly wrapped up. Whereas Tate, he has no influence over the day-to-day politics, right?
Right.
I mean, he's of the opinion that it's the opposite, where the Illuminati or whatever dark night, cloak and dagger operation is against him. So, but you're doing the same damn thing.
Yeah.
So what are you trying to say, that you're trying to fight fire with fire and you're a hero out of all of this? Get out of here.
Yeah. So that is it for the videos. Now we have some transcripts, so I'm going to have to read them to you, and I'll give you a little bit of the context. And these are what were leaked. It was either a stenographer or it was some evidence that was procured off of Andrew Tate's own laptops, electronics during the raids. We shouldn't have this information. I'll be the first one to say this. I am not a criminal attorney. I am not an evidentiary expert. But there's certain ways that you can procure evidence, right? All I'll say is sometimes you challenge the true nature of the evidence, and then other times you challenge whether or not the law enforcement should have the evidence. I don't know if there's a claim here if it was procured correctly, so I can't speak to that. All I can say is from the actual nature of the evidence and what it says, this stuff is pretty damning. If these are his words, he has a lot of explaining to do, because now he's going to have to justify, rationalize, explain away the intent that he puts forth. So again, we are talking about the lover boy trafficking method, which is you reach out to somebody from far away. Usually you reach out to somebody from far away because you want to remove them from their support system, from all the people who have influence of them, and take them to a place where they're less knowledgeable, have less freedom, are foreigners, so they are more vulnerable because they don't know their way around, they don't know the language, or they don't know the laws, right? And you bring them over here via, I'm going to take care of you, I'm going to marry you, you're going to live a life of wealth. And then when they get here, you turn it on them and you're like, okay, well, you're here, you love me, I'm going to take care of you, but you got to do this other thing, right? So did Andrew Tate actually do that to these girls? We'll ask whether or not it should be illegal later, but did he do that to these girls? All right, well, let me pull up the first chat. All right, so here is the actual chat log of what Andrew Tate said with some female he was talking to. Andrew Tate, you have to understand that once you're mine, you'll be mine forever. A woman never leaves her man. I will be the last man in your life. He goes on to say, what do we do if we fall in love and I kidnap you to bring you to Bucharest? The girl responds, I don't think it's kidnapping if I want to come. Andrew responds, first I have to see in your eyes that you'll never be able to live without me. And then I can trust you and show you everything. The girl responds, bring a ring with you when you come. Smiley face. Andrew Tate responds, can you be loving enough to be a wife? To always be by my side wherever I go? Talk to 0 men besides me. Ride or die. Smiley face. Then he says, you have to move to Romania with me to keep an eye on you. You're mine. Do not forget that. And act like it. We will be together soon. The girl says, but can I trust you? Andrew says, yes, you can. You will move to Romania with me. I plan when I get there. First, I might have to go to Prague for a few days. We will meet in Romania. I want you to know that you are committed, serious about marriage. She responds, yes, I'm serious. Not Meg. What do you think?
It sounds like a courtship. When you're dating, it's tough because you take some of the things that he says just straight off the page like you just read. And it's not too far off of what a guy would say who could be genuine, could also be trying to take you home at 2 a.m. at the bar.
Yep.
But either way, he's making promises. Whether or not he intends to keep them, we can't say at that moment. We can say it now because hindsight's 2020. But it's hard to say at that time if he intended to do that. Again, we can do that looking back because we can judge the outcome.
Right.
But to her, she's a willing participant in moving. It's not like he came to wherever she lived, threw her in a burlap bag over his shoulder and smuggled her back to Romania. It's not kidnapping in the truest sense.
Yep.
But from an emotional sense, you see the grooming elements.
Yep.
You see the piece, right? So it's tough because on the one hand, it's like, okay, how many guys have kind of said similar things to get what they want from a female just so they could sleep with her?
I'll take it a step further. What about mail order brides? What about all?
That's something I considered.
Every man should. But that's a whole different podcast.
No, I didn't consider that like for my own personal. I was saying to clarify. I'm saying I considered that's something I considered as far as when this is how much does that vary in comparison to a mail order bride?
Yeah.
So you're spot on. I feel like that is something that it seemed like, right? Again, we're taking these little analogies of the things that he said and done, and when you break them out independently, seems like this over here, that seems like this over there.
Mm-hmm.
And in and of itself, it's like, well, we can't condemn that one statement. But when you start to put all of the pieces together,
right. Exactly,
it's where things get like really murky and really dark.
I'll give you the next analogy. Is this so different than all these reality TV shows of like, was it like 90 Day Fiance or The Bachelor or these Love and Hip Hops or dating Brent Michaels? The only difference is that Andrew Tate twisted at the end that his original goal was to turn these girls into cam models. There is no allegation he's not taking them on the yachts, that he's not letting them live the high life with a multimillionaire, right? There's none of those allegations. There's no allegations that he's beating them, that he's keeping in cages. If there is, I would like to see the evidence. I'm not saying it's not possible. That stuff's not being leaked. There are more girls coming out to defend him, saying that they were treated well, than are coming out to say that he kept them in basements.
Those probably, if I had to speculate, just total speculation.
Sure.
The people that have spoken out against him are probably in that previous quote. I don't remember if it was part 1 or part 2, where he's talking about when they're wising up, right? They get smart. They try to buck the system.
Sure.
Versus someone who maintains complicit.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And so as long as you're okay being doted on, but you can't leave the house, right? As long as you abide by the terms of the agreement, then at some point you can just say either I'm out or you get tossed out. I'm not really sure which. I don't know what he does with these girls after they've kind of used their serviceable life. I don't even know if there is a serviceable life. Like, what's the exit, right?
Sure.
Because we know what the exit is in a gang, right?
Yeah.
In a gang, your serviceable life, like, you leave through death, right? In these, are you just tossed out, or just like, hey, you know what? I'll buy you a first class ticket. You've made me 2 years. I'll buy you a first class ticket back to your home.
Yeah. My wife used to love the reality TV show of the Playboy Bunnies, his 3 main girls with Hugh Heffner. On record saying that they had curfews and they were not allowed to date other men. Treated them well, right? Stuck 7 women in the house next door that were his seconds. And they played this, like, that was a reality TV show on America with pretty good ratings. Holly Madison ended up becoming like a Vegas star or something to that effect. No one had an issue with it there. I'm not justifying what Andrew Tate's doing. I'm just saying these people who are taking hard and fast opinions on this one, where is the consistency? Did you hate the Playboy Bunny show? Did you watch it? Do you watch The Bachelor? You can't see any comparables here? Mail order brides, that's where it's going too far because he was ugly and he couldn't get a girl in America. Like, this is all forms of messed up. So the next element, which, man, if this is a real chat log, then I don't know how you explain this away. I would love to see how his defense attorney is going to do this. But the next one, let me pull up the chat log, is Andrew Tate talking to one of the females. Andrew Tate says, "You're not stupid. You can probably guess how I make so much money. I have to hide it with what I'm really doing." The girl responds, "Webcam?" Andrew replies, "I've been doing this for a long time with a team of girls working on video chat. The company was fake. But this is how I laundered my dirty money. Some of the girls who worked for me, I used for other things. To move money or illegal things, documents. But I would never do that with you." So remember when we talked about him avoiding taxes and using Bitcoin for the potential of laundering money? Well, now he's saying or admitting to actually laundering dirty money. What do you think?
Is laundering illegal in Romania?
I think that is a fantastic question. I do not know.
Because if not, then, again, we're applying the U.S. tax code and the U.S. laws.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question.
Yeah, so does it make him a dirtbag in the U.S.? If he lived here, but he's not even a U.S. citizen. He's a UK citizen.
Here's what I will say. I think it is a fair assumption that in every country, laundering money is a crime, because what does laundering money means? It means avoid paying taxes. I can't think of any government on the books is going to be like, it's okay to not pay your taxes. Now, can you pay some government officials or some government auditor money to help you launder that money? Sure. Sure, countries are corrupt. I'm sure you can pay your way to anything. But I cannot see in any country laundering dirty money as not getting you jail time.
I think that we're kind of burying the lead. It's laundering money from illegal activity.
That's a good point.
Right? So it's not even so much that he's using the chatterbait or chatbots or whatever he was doing, the webcamming side of things. Like, okay, he was putting it in Bitcoin, he was accepting Bitcoin, whatever. But dirty money is implying illegal things. And then he goes on and says, in case you missed the point, to move money or illegal things.
Yeah.
Right? So basically, if you were in question before about whether or not I was laundering money and whether that was legal or illegal, I'm straight up telling you that I did illegal things and used these girls to basically do them. Right?
Yeah.
So it's crime by proxy.
Yeah. Now, Preach and ABBA, they did a fantastic job. Again, I'm fans of theirs. They focused a little bit more on the fact that Andrew Tate told the female, "I will never do this with you." And they used that to show him applying the lover boy method. Like, I'm going to treat you different. I'm going to treat you special. I have done some stuff, but I would never do that with you. Of course, he's going to do it with her if he did it with other girls. I think that's a very valid point. I think that can go toward his character, toward him, what you call means, motive, all that good stuff. I think the admission in there is way more damning, but that's not what he's being charged for right now. With these statements being out there, I could see future charges coming. However, good God, he put that in writing. Okay. It is what it is. Let's move.
So,
go ahead.
It's kind of the same idea, though, of, okay, so a guy or girl has an affair, and they're married, right? They end up leaving their significant other.
Sure.
And they're basically promising, well, yeah, we did have like a year long or year and a half or 2-year affair. I'm not going to do that to you.
Sure.
But I did it to them, right? So to your point about history and character and everything else, it's kind of the same idea saying, well, I'm not going to cheat on you, even though you were the side piece I was cheating with.
Yeah.
Right?
I've changed.
I've changed, right?
I gave up my pimp king.
I'm clean.
Yeah. I don't have much to add on that. That's in writing. All right, man. Good luck with that one. Next one. Let's go back to his angels. Who are his angels? One of them, I believe, is one of their girlfriends, meaning Andrew and Trishan, the brothers. Andrew gets all the fame. The other one is a ex-Romanian police officer. Both are, model-esque looking females. But it sounds like they are the ones doing the pitches. They are the one managing and controlling the girls. They are the top girls, or as they refer to them, pimping, bottom bitches, that manages all of the affairs for the Tates. Now, this next exchange is not from Andrew Tate. These are not Andrew Tate's words. These are the words of one of the two angels. Now, I'm going to mispronounce their names, but I think the angels have been identified by picture. It's Lana Radu. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it. I apologize. And Georgiana Nakhil. Something to that effect. Now, I'm not sure which one of the two is talking here, and I'm not sure which one of the two is a police officer. I would wager the way the person is talking, it was probably the ex-cop. And here's why. So let's just say angel. I think it's Georgiana Nakhil, but I could be wrong. All right. Here's the exchange from the first girl. If we don't make money, then the angel, punch yourself in the mouth until I arrive, because then I'll give you another 10, you incurable slacker. Then the angel says, I break you when I get there. The, let's just say webcam girl says, what did I do? The angel says, you have 1 hour and 10 minutes to disappear. The cam girl says, but what did I do? The angel says, you're 20% down. 4 days since you've posted, meaning she's not putting out internet content. Then the angel says, well, if Andrew looks to see if you've posted TikToks, you won't even have time to pack. You'll be flying out the balcony straight away. Again, not Andrew Tate's words. Now, this angel might be the enforcer. She might use violent language all the time. You can explain this away 100 different ways. But if you are being accused of being in a ring of organized crime that uses the lover boy method for sex trafficking of cam girls, and there are statements of you making threats of physical harm and arguably murder. I don't know if it is a second story balcony or not, or maybe higher. So probably not murder. I think that's taking a little bit too far. But when you tell somebody you're going to punch them 10 times and throw them off a balcony, you are making a physical threat. I don't care what situation it is. If someone's always getting threatened physically, they're going to be in a little bit of fear. And then when you say Andrew Tate, this big dude who's in excellent shape, who's an ex-kickboxer, and we don't know his type of temper with these females. I mean, on camera, he treats them very well. I can't say anything else, but I mean, you're slapping on a lot of intent and you are helping the argument of it was abusive and you use coercion through force and threat. It's not helping their case. What do you think?
I think it also goes to the nature of the organized crime aspect, right? Because it's showing to me, just because it wasn't Tate, you can't disprove or even prove currently with what's available in information that he told them that's how they need to act, right? But what you can prove is that he's deferred to them, right? So while the CEO may not necessarily be the one that got his hands dirty, if the COO is, the CEO is still culpable, right, in a business. Yep. So in the same way, if you're an organized crime unit and your people are acting this way, either on their own volition or by your encouragement or your instruction, it bolsters the idea of the organized crime aspect.
Sure.
Or it bolsters the idea that you are in league with these individuals.
Sure.
So it does prove an element of he's putting these managers over these women to perform these things. Again, if a manager said this to an employee, there would be a trip to HR, right?
Sure.
But that's the US system.
Yeah.
That's what we have put in place in businesses, which he already just said the company is fake.
Yeah. I think people, if they look at it through an analogy, it usually helps. So there's an American movie called Saving Private Ryan. And I know the angels with Andrew Tate are called the lieutenants, but in Saving Private Ryan, I think Tom Hanks' character is a captain and he has a sergeant that is kind of the enforcer. So the captain, Tom Hanks, wants to do this, wants to do that. One of the soldiers starts giving Tom Hanks flack. He looks at the soldier and then he looks at the sergeant, and then Tom Hanks just kind of walks away, and it's the sergeant's job to rip this soldier a new asshole, which he does. I think to the point where they almost get ready to get in a fist fight or shoot each other. And so the point is there are those type of structural dynamics. Where did the order come from? Where did the marching order came from? Came from the captain. Now, how the sergeant enforces those decisions is, up to the sergeant, but we all know the sergeants typically have the same personality. This is why there's that term drill sergeant, right? So we know how they're going to act, and that's why they're appointed in that position. So for him having these lieutenants and one is an ex-police officer using this type of language is not far-fetched to think there is a coercive, a force by threat and intimidation aspect to this dynamic. Now, again, I'm going to say these are allegations because it's leaked evidence. I don't like leaked evidence. I want this presented in court and verified and submitted in the record. If this is all true, man, this is not good. Any thoughts?
No, I agree. Correct me if I'm wrong. These two lieutenants are also under arrest. They are also facing trial, just like Tate's brother. Is that correct?
Correct. I don't know who's been charged with what, but they have all been arrested. They all have various forms of charges.
So, real quick over-under on who's going to roll over on who?
You know what? I think that's an excellent point. I think the girls are actually going to get smashed, even if they roll. I think the girls are going to probably more likely roll, but the girls are going to get smashed because they don't have the kind of money that the Tates. Now, these are his angels, his lieutenants, his ride or dies. I could be wrong. From a male in a relationship, I hope my woman never rolls on me. So I don't want that, but I think practically speaking, it's interesting. In the American legal system, there is, I want to call it kind of an exclusion. In other words, the court system or law enforcement cannot make a spouse testify against another spouse. It's something that's codified in the language. These weren't his wives, or maybe they were. I don't know Andrew Tate's life. I think he has a couple wives. I don't understand. But if these weren't his wives and they can somehow be coerced or forced to testify, it's going to get interesting real quick.
Yeah, grab your popcorn for that one, because I don't think the U.S. system even protects girlfriends.
Nope, not at all. So let's just say we'll find out if they're right or die. Let's see if he was right. Because it ain't looking good. And this is the stuff they've released. They've thrown this away. Let's put it this way. If there is some function that now this evidence cannot be brought to trial because it's got sullied by being thrown out into the press, right? Do you think the prosecutors or whoever released this would be willing to destroy this case just to release it? I mean, there's a possibility, but I got to think, all right, I lose 10, 20% of my evidence. I still have the other 80% to prosecute them with. I don't think this is it.
I'll throw another thought at you.
Sure.
If you know that you are a prosecutor in a kangaroo court, wouldn't you release this evidence so that that person, they may get out because they can spend money, but wouldn't you want the court of public opinion to crucify that person so that even if they do get out of your fucked up legal system, that they're still never going to be able to go anywhere in this world without facing some kind of judgment?
That is an excellent point. I did not think about it from that angle. Yeah, that is very plausible.
And there is no international prosecution, right? We don't have, outside of military courts,
sure,
we really don't have anything that prosecutes international. But if any one of these other locations, say you rented an Airbnb in Britain, all they have to do is say, well, there's enough circumstantial evidence here in Romania. We leaked this information. Oh, and by the way, Andrew Tate did some of these acts in your home country.
On your soil.
So you're then opening up them to be able to investigate outside of your legal jurisdiction.
Yep.
So that
excellent point.
Those countries have the ability to then prosecute. Now, the chain of evidence is busted, so they have to basically use that as almost a tip.
Sure.
As opposed to ironclad, right? So they still have to do something.
Sure.
But if you're giving that information out, the court of public opinion can make a decision and judge that person.
Yeah.
And these other countries, because this person did international trips, as he's admitted to, right?
Right.
And so I think all of those things, especially if you know that you're in a kangaroo court, you may lose the battle, but you are not losing the war.
Yeah.
These people are playing chess, which is ironic considering that
yeah.
Tate's background as a chess master and his father and all of that stuff, which we covered in one of the other podcasts.
That's an excellent, excellent point. I should bring out and clarify people who do not know the American system. So for anybody listening, if you wonder, why does he keep on saying the American system? Well, we have people who listen to this internationally, and thank you so much for listening to us. We truly appreciate it. The term kangaroo court is an American term, which means a court that is not legitimate. You are not going to get a fair trial. You have either the judges bought off or the prosecutors bought off, and this is just a show, but we all know person's going to get off. So that's what we mean by kangaroo
or be
court.
thrown in jail. They could be jailed.
Oh, yes.
So
right.
it's both sides of that equation. You're either guilty before you set foot in the door, or you're not guilty before you set in the door. And the rest of this is basically just a Jerry Springer episode that we're putting on for likes.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Thank you. So that's what Not Maggot meant by kangaroo court. Now, with regard to whether or not he could be prosecuted on other soil. So it sounds like he is usually in the Middle East or he's in Europe. So I did my own little bit of investigating, and I think what you're saying is plausible. The analogy I would give is that the European countries and their criminal or justice systems kind of work together the way the United States state criminal systems can work together. You know, you'll have a California and an Arizona strike team that make joint arrest. Well, you have that where you can have a French and Italian, or, a Romanian and a French, right? So in all of Europe, I think there is a chance that they are going to share this information and he can get on other soil. And the Middle East is kind of separate. I know they're huge fans of him over there. So I think that that's a very relevant point you brought up. The next thing is, when I did my own research, to be fair to Andrew Tate, and as an attorney, I was wondering if the Matrix did attack him and they pulled out these old leather-bound volumes of their criminal laws. They dusted them off and they just went with the fine-tooth comb, trying to find something to stick this guy with, right? They found some obscure law that they never use to go after this guy. I don't think that was the case. So 5 minutes of Googling Loverboy method in Europe. I found 2 instances where they've gone after other criminal rings. And let me read them to you. Just to show you, these charges are not solely being used just because it's Andrew Tate. So in October 12th, 2020, 10 people were arrested in France and Romania by the French Judicial Police, the French National Police, and the Romanian National Police, supported by Europol and Eurojustice, for organized crimes involving human trafficking for sexual exploitation. The group used the Loverboy method since 2015. Some victims were girlfriends of the suspects, girls sent across Europe. The girls' activities were monitored electronically. The criminal profits were channeled to Romania via money transfers and laundered through real estate, luxury items, such as cars. All right, now they discussed a little bit more of what exactly is the Loverboy trick in this article. They say the Loverboy technique is widely used by criminals to recruit victims confronted with economic and social hardship. The suspects target their victims' vulnerability and seduce them with expensive gifts and promises of a better life abroad. This is how many women leave their families in search of love and new opportunities in other countries. However, once they find themselves in the new home, they are forced into prostitution to earn money for their handler. The victims are lured with affection, violence, and threats against their families back home. So this is not exactly the allegations against Andrew Tate. But does this fit into the same Venn diagram of what Andrew Tate said himself that he was doing? Fuck yes, it does. there's a little bit of wiggle room here, but Andrew Tate's own words, what we went through with his videos and his transcripts. I mean, there is a lot of things that overlap on this one. And I was like, all right, well, maybe the one article. I found one article. All right, another minute of Google searching. Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. Agents of national police together with French national police and the Romanian Police General Inspectorate in an operation coordinated by Europol have released 13 women of Romanian nationality who were sexually exploited in flats in Spain and France by the method of Loverboy. The women were recruited in Romania and flown to Barcelona, where they were advertised on websites specializing in sexual services. In the Operation Tartar, I think Tartar is a Romanian word, so I apologize for mispronouncing. Okay, in the operation, 13 home entries and searches have been carried out, 6 in Romania and 7 in France, seizing 6 high-end vehicles, mobile phones, SIM and memory cards, USB devices, bank accounts, a ring valued at 1,600 euros, 33 Turkish pounds, and more than 22,000 euros in cash. Again, do we see any similarities here? Is this the Loverboy method? I didn't think it was before, but now I'm thinking it is. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it fits the profile. And, again, we've been talking about this for several days leading up for this, weeks leading up to this, I guess, since beginning of the year. And even as someone who was trying to remain objective, someone who's not as well versed with the individual and just looking at the information as it's come out, when you lay it over these same crimes or these same charges that have been applied to other people, little nuanced words like, my job was to lure these women here.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Using that word really, you were just talking, and as you're reading it, I'm thinking, he said lure, his own words.
Yeah. Fallacy.
My job was to lure, and it was a fallacy. Those things that exudes the Loverboy method.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a huge deal and again, I don't know when the Loverboy method, like when that precedent became illegal, right? But this is more than just like you photoshopping your profile picture on a dating app,
yeah,
right? So that you look better, right? Or that you are looking for long-term relationships when you just feel like that's a 1-week fling that you're just trying to get. That's not the Loverboy method, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's too similar to ignore.
Yeah. Look, in my heart of heart, I really sincerely hope Andrew Tate is innocent. I don't want this stuff to be true, but it's becoming harder and harder to believe that he's not guilty of some flavor of this, right? I think he's done tremendous good. I think his message is still of value, and I still want to do the episodes where he does say some good things. He does say some positive things. There's thousands and thousands of people would testify that he had a good effect on their lives. The question is, are you okay listening to him despite him potentially doing this? Let's say he's convicted. Let's say you think he was framed. Let's say you don't agree the Loverboy method should be criminal. That at the end of the day, these girls knew what they were doing. Are you still cool with the guy who does that? Do you look up to that? Well, if you do, I got to part ways with you. I'm not saying he's evil. I think there's a lot worse out there. I think there's a lot of men who do all of this and never shower the women with that lifestyle. But if you're okay with somebody being in the same room with these human traffickers and using the same methods, but what percentage, what action that is a little bit different where you're like, okay, that's acceptable form of it. I'll give you an example, an acceptable form of it. Trophy wives. Everybody's cool with it. I've known multimillionaires who have their trophy wife and then their concubines or mistresses on the side, and no one's really batting their eyes at that. Where is the line? I don't know where the line is on that one. I think human trafficking is a great line. I think we should adhere to that. I think it's disgusting. But this shade of it, man, it's confusing as hell. Especially when you lay that over the fact that Andrew Tate has done a lot of good in helping young men get their shit together. I'm really disappointed in this whole situation. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to ask a question. Do we know the ages of these women that he lured over?
There is no allegation that any of these women are minors.
Okay.
There was one allegation in that salacious piece by, I think it was the Daily Mail, that Andrew Tate reached out to a girl when she was 16. I did check in Romania, the age of consent is 18. Now, whether you're doing it to a 16-year-old or 18-year-old, it is a pretty scumbag move. If you're doing this to 25-year-olds and 30-year-olds, I would agree they are more likely to know what they're getting into. But you can get some dumb ones. You can get some naive ones, right? That is on you as the pimp in this situation, pimping these girls, whether for legal or illegal purposes. That's still on you, man. At the end of the day, this is still on Andrew. I think I would agree with you. Minors would make it worse. But at the end of the day, let's just say he's not evil. At the end of the day, he ran his mouth and he did stuff that was against the law. I ain't going to feel too bad for you if you got to pay the piper.
Yeah. And I think that part of the problem that I have is, like, you asked the question, what if this was your sister? What if this is your, relative or whatever? And my first question was, what if this is your daughter?
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like as a father, you're probably going to come down a little bit harder.
Yep.
Right? So generationally speaking, a 40 or 45-year-old male, or even a female, a mother, is going to view this through a different lens than his target audience of a 22-year-old going, yeah, good for him. He got 5 girls, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that that's part of the conversation, is that same mentality at 22 is totally different when you have a kid. And it's like, that could have been your daughter, right?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think that is a biased perspective. I think it doesn't help when looking at the nuances of the law, but you can't stop but think that, right? If Andrew Tate contacted my daughter when she was 18 and brought her over to Romania, not to be on a webcam, but to be part of his harem, I'd be in jail. So that's the biased point of view that I have. But are these consenting adults? Did these women know what they were getting into? Just because I'm disappointed and angered as a father, a brother, whatever, does not mean he's doing something illegal. If he's breaking what's codified in the law, then it's by definition illegal, whether you agree with it or whether you don't. Andrew Tate is smart enough and he's wealthy enough to ask all the right questions to know what he could get away with. It seems like he didn't care and he believed he was untouchable. Well, he's getting all sorts of touched up now. And so now he's going to have to deal with it. Hopefully he's innocent. Hopefully people are lying about this stuff. I don't see how he gets off totally clean on this one.
Even if he does, I don't think that it's never going to go away.
Correct.
I think this is something that he will have to speak to, even if it all turns out false. There's still the fact that you put yourself in that position. And so from a legal perspective, even if one little piece is true and they're unable to prove that one piece without the links in the chain that a couple of them may have gotten broken, so therefore they can't get any conviction whatsoever, you've got to be thinking that they're looking at this whole thing and saying, okay, even if you get off, you're still public enemy number one.
Yeah.
You're still going to be watched. And if you so much as cross the street outside of a sidewalk, we're throwing you in jail for 48 hours, right? And they're going to continue to hound this guy. At that point, he does become a predictor of his own future, because then he could make the case that the Matrix is out to get him.
Yeah.
Because he got off of this heinous thing, whether it's all false, mostly false, some of it's false. If he gets off, then they are going to try harder to get him on other things.
Yeah.
And so even if he does get off scot-free, I don't think that he's going to be able to stay in Romania. And I certainly don't think he's going to be able to stay in the UK. So he's going to end up going back to the Middle East and kind of probably have to live out his days there.
The really sad part to me is that I think the people who made up their mind. It doesn't matter what we say, what evidence will be produced, right? The people who believe the Clintons are good people, they're going to still vote for them, no matter what allegations have been made. Trump supporters, right?
Exactly.
I'm a big fan of a lot of Trump's policies. Don't like him as a person. I understand how damaging he is. But people who've made up their mind have made up their mind. And I think that is the most tragic because I don't see Andrew Tate's career being hurt by this at all. I don't think this is a comeback tale. I think he comes out and says, I survived this. I'm harder for this. I'm going to rebuild my empire. And I think none of his fans are going to question, should I follow this guy? I can listen to him. You listen to anybody. I sat across the table from psychopaths before. And I sat and had a friendly conversation, wanted to pick them apart and hear what they had to say. I walked away going, well, that guy's a psycho and I'm never going to talk to him again. I don't know how you could be their friend, but okay, good for you. I learned something, right? But that's how I walked away. Never going to do business with that person. I don't understand why people can't think a little bit more critically. I'm just going to close out my opinion with this to all the young people who actually still have the attention span to listen to this and who are willing to. Here is my general warning. If you want to listen to Tate, cool. I get it. I understand why you look up to him. I understand why you want to be like him. The success, the good looks, having access to that many women, I get it. Here is my question. If he was willing to treat all these women this way, if he was willing to treat a lot of his clients that way, will he ever care about you the way you care about him? I'm not saying you don't listen to him. I'm not saying you don't follow advice. I do hope you would question allegiance, though. That's my only warning. Not Maggot, any final thoughts?
I think we started out this entire endeavor with kind of a spoiler alert, right?
Yeah.
And we said, what he's saying is not revolutionary. So if you're willing to listen to what he had to say, and part of the reason may be because of how he says it, fine.
Sure.
I'll recommend watching WWF or something like that if you want that type of polarizing piece, or just wait till the next election and watch the presidential debates, because those are tons of fun for the 1 minute gotchas and zingers. But my point is that the information he's sharing is not new. It's not exciting. It's how he says it. It's the show. Okay.
Yeah.
You're better off, in my opinion, finding what content is out there that doesn't have the extra baggage. Where if you're sitting at Thanksgiving, you can say, I heard this quote from, and if you say Andrew Tate and someone walks off, you're not starting Thanksgiving off very well. But if you're saying, I heard this quote from, and it's an intelligent individual that, hell, you could be Tony Robbins for all I care. But ultimately, the things that he's saying are not new. They're not revolutionary. So you're better off finding sources that don't come with the toxic dart at the end of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's said well. And we have just hit an hour, so we're going to wrap it up. Everybody who stuck around with us, we truly appreciate you listening to us, you hearing our thoughts. Again, neither of us are right. You got to figure out what's right in your own head, who you want to follow, who you want to listen to, who you want to let in your ears. And all I'm going to say, again, just be careful.
And keep it civil in the comments.
Nah, go after me. I'm an asshole. All right, let's wrap it up.
They can go after you, just don't go after each other.
Oh, that might be true. All right, if you guys are willing to listen, we are willing to talk. Appreciate it. Bye.
Peace.
That's it. That's our show. This wraps up our current discussion about Andrew Tate, but I'm sure as the case evolves, so will our opinions. Please do us the favor and like, subscribe, share this podcast so we can get some traction. Once I get around to it, check us out on our socials. Combative Nerds on Patreon, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You know the deal. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you next episode.